Now we're going to shift onto our hands and our feet and walk out our calves and our ankles. Breathe in and extend one leg and breathe out and extend the other leg. Do this 3 times. Now we're going to go into a downward dog position. Make sure your shoulders aren't too tense and make sure that you're pushing your butt towards the sky and your heels towards the ground, but make sure your heels aren't actually on the ground. And hold this for 5 breaths. Now we're going to go into a cobra with our toes still on the ground. Hold this for 3 breaths. Great. Now we can just roll over onto our backs, get ourselves nice and situated, and we're going to start doing crunches. First with our legs on the ground and our fingertips on the ground as well. We're going to do 10 crunches in this position, or however many you think is right for you. There's my grandma. Great. Now put your knees up and do 10 more crunches here. Still making sure that your fingertips don't lift off the ground. Now you're going to bring your left leg up so that your left ankle is on your right knee and do 10 crunches towards your left thigh. Same thing on the other side. Put your right ankle on your left knee and do 10 crunches towards your right thigh. Now bring your legs up so that both your knees and your hips are at a 90-degree angle and do 10 crunches in this position. Now do the bicycle, extending one leg and twisting away from that leg. Now we're going to put your legs straight up and down and do 10 crunches in a forward motion. Cross your left leg in front of your right and do 10 more crunches, again in a forward motion and not as much up and down. Now cross your right leg in front of your left and do 10 more. Great job. Now you're going to put your arms straight out to the sides and tilt your legs from side to side, just lightly tapping the tip of your pinky toe on the ground each time and really trying to control the speed at which you're going from side to side and really trying to keep your legs glued together. Do this 10 times or 5 times on each side or however many times you think is right for you. Great job. Now we're going to do side crunches. Bend your knees, look over your hip, and do 10 crunches in a forward motion. Same thing on the other side. Bend your knees, look over your hip, and do 10 crunches in a forward motion. Now you're going to sit up, put one arm on the ground, and bring your legs up. Then you're going to extend your legs 8 times on one side, and on the 8th time, you're going to push off and switch over to the other side. Your feet should never touch the ground. After 8 times on that side, do 4 on each side, then 2 on each side, and then finally just switching back and forth 8 times before you roll over into the cobra once again. Hold this cobra pose for 5 breaths. We're going to go back into downward dog. Make sure your shoulders aren't tense. Push your butt towards the sky and your heel towards the ground without actually having your heels on the ground. And hold this for 5 breaths. Now we're going to do push-ups. 10 push-ups in the video, or however many you deem necessary. Great job. We're going to do the cobra just for a second so that we can roll back down and continue doing ab workouts. Put your hands underneath your butt, just right on your lower back or at the top of your butt. Put your legs straight in the air. Keep your legs together and slowly lower them down and tap your heels on the ground, and then throw your legs over your head and tap your toes on the ground behind you. This is also about control. You want to make sure that you can control the speed that your legs are going in both directions, and you want to try to use your abs and your back muscles as much as possible and not use your arm muscles, especially when you throw your legs over your head. So we're going to do this 10 times or 5 times in each direction, and then on the 10th time, throw your legs over your head and keep them there. Take 2 breaths with your arms down, 2 breaths with your arms to the side, and 2 breaths with your arms straight over your head. If you want to do the candlestick pose instead of this, you should do that. Now we're going to have our legs in a split position. Take 2 breaths with our arms down, 2 breaths with our arms to the side, and 2 breaths with our arms straight over our heads. Then finally, you're going to tuck our legs in and really stretch out our back. Take 2 breaths with our arms down, 2 breaths with our arms out to the side, and 2 breaths with our arms straight over our head. And once we do that, we're going to straighten our legs again, bring our arms down, and then slowly, slowly, slowly lower our legs down, shifting our weight from one vertebrae to the next with as much control as we can muster. And just really take your time with this one. Once you roll all the way down, keep your back flat on the ground and your legs straight up in the air, and then open them into a split. Take 2 breaths in this position, and then with your shoulders relaxed, put a little bit of pressure on the inside of your legs for 2 breaths, and then bring your hands up and put a little bit of pressure on your knees for 2 breaths. Now we're going to touch our toes over our head, go through a split position, and then touch our toes straight down, but not touching the ground. Try to get your cartilage to crunch as much as possible, and use your back muscles and your abs to do this. Great. Now we're going to twist over to the left side, bring your left knee up, and extend your left arm out in the opposite direction. Look over your left shoulder and hold this for 3 breaths. Same thing on the other side. Bring your right knee up and extend your right arm outwards in the other direction. Look over your right shoulder and take 3 breaths in this position. Great. Now we're going to touch our hands to our toes one leg at a time and then both legs together 3 times. Or however many times you deem necessary. Great. Now we're going to go into a crab position and do 10 backwards push-ups, or however many you deem necessary. You can touch your butt to the ground, but never put any of your weight down. Great. Now we're going to go into a cobra again, holding this one for 3 breaths. And finally, one more downward dog, making sure your shoulders aren't too tense. Push your butt towards the sky and your heels towards the ground. Hold this one for 5 breaths. Now you're going to bring your left leg towards the center and put your right leg up in the sky as high as it'll go. Hold this for 5 breaths. Same thing on the other side. Put your right leg towards the center and bring your left leg up as high as it'll go. Hold this for 5 breaths. Then walk your feet towards your hands. Do a forward fold. Hold this for 2 breaths. Then cross your left leg over your right. Make sure your left knee is bent and your right is straight. Hold this for 2 breaths. Then switch over to the other side so that your right leg is in front of your left, your right knee is bent, your left leg is straight, and hold this for 2 breaths. Then finally, have your feet hip-width apart, clasp your hands over your head, and bend down as far as you can. Hold this pose for 3 breaths. Then release your arms, bend your knees slightly, and roll up slowly 1 vertebrae at a time.